On today's episode, I want to take a closer look at the growth expectations for the PC and tablet market for 2022 and 2023. Some pretty cool research reports just came out a few days ago, and I want to take a closer look at how it might impact companies like AMD, Intel, and Nvidia. So let's get started.
I do want to thank The Motley Fool for sponsoring this video, and make sure to check out fool.com/Jose to get the top 10 stocks to buy right now.
This week was a pretty rough for the semiconductor market. We can see AMD was down about 11% in the past 5 days. Nvidia was down roughly 14.8%. We have even your favorite semiconductor Intel down roughly 6%, and big player ASML was also down roughly 7.7%. And this kind of pain is something we have kind of talked about in this channel. We talked about the numerous headwinds affecting the semiconductor market and how there is probably more chances of short-term pain. But as a long-term investor and a huge kind of follower of the semiconductor industry, there's still numerous tailwinds for the long-term perspective. So again, I do believe short-term will continue to be painful for semiconductors. In the long term, these are investments I'm going to be super excited to have in my portfolio. A little bit more about this short-term pain, and we've heard a lot of talks with macroeconomics and kind of the consumer markets decreasing. On September 1st of 2022, IDC reported a free report. This report was focused on worldwide shipments of PC and tablets forecasts, and they are expected to decline in 2022 and 2023 under challenging market conditions. So in this report, IDC expects that global shipments of traditional PCs are forecasted to decline 12.8% in 2022 to 305 million units. And tablet shipments will fall 6.8% to 156.8 million units. There are numerous reasons for this, and this is not just in the consumer market. We're going to see they're also talking about business enterprises, and one of the major reasons is obviously the macroeconomics affecting the overall market and consumer spending. So they are seeing a strong weakness in the consumer market, which is a big player. But then you have also kind of enterprises and small to medium-sized businesses worried about the upcoming forecast of how they might do, that they might slow down a bit in investments. And for those not familiar with what's happening with Nvidia, make sure to check out my previous videos. I do discuss them a little bit more of why Nvidia right now is taking quite a hit due to government regulations. And if you are enjoying the video so far, make sure to hit the thumbs up, as it does help me grow my overall audience. And if you want to support a little bit more, make sure to subscribe using my link at fool.com/Jose. Also, you guys know I enjoy the semiconductor market. I do have a master's degree in electrical engineering and used to work with pretty cool companies that dealt with emerging technologies. So I do want to share my overall thoughts about the semiconductor industry in my newsletter. Make sure to check out, the link is down below. The IDC also believes that there's going to be further contraction expected in 2023 as consumer demand has slowed down. They do mention that the combined market for PC and tablets is forecasted to decline 2.6% in 2023 before returning to growth in 2024. And here IDC has a pretty cool graph showcasing kind of the traditional PC and the tablet market. And here we can see in 2021, it was pretty much the peak for the traditional PC market, and it's slowing down dramatically in 2022. 2023, a bit of a drop before kind of picking back up. The IDC did break down kind of the shipments for 2022, and we can see the biggest player is the consumer market, which makes up more than half of total shipments. And that is a market that is expected to drop about 10%. The public sector is expected to drop roughly 20%, and small medium businesses is expected to drop about 10.5%. We can see enterprises, even though they are expected to slow down, is not as big as a drop as the other players. But at the end of the day, the real important is the consumer market, like I mentioned before. So now that we understand what's expected for the PC shipment this year and the upcoming year, I do want to say the two most popular companies that are going to be impacted by this are, in my opinion, going to be Intel and Nvidia. I do believe AMD is definitely going to see a bit of an impact from this as well, but because Intel and Nvidia are the selected market share leaders in GPU and CPUs, then those are the ones that are going to take the bigger hit. So here I'm in Tom's Hardware website, and they did an article about the overall market share, taking a closer look at research from Mercury Research. And for Q2 of 2022, the kind of overall market share for the x86 architects between AMD and Intel is dramatically. AMD has roughly 31.4% of the market. The other 68.6%, I believe would be, is Intel. So we can see If the market shipment is expected to slow down, obviously AMD is going to experience some pain, but the big leaders are going to be the ones to take the most pain. So Intel having over 60% of the market share, over 65 actually, will probably be taking the biggest hit. And if we take a closer look in their most recent quarter, client computing group for Intel, which includes the kind of consumer market for the PC world, was down 25% already. And they mentioned it was primarily due to demand softening in consumer and education, as well as OEM inventory reductions. So maybe in the upcoming quarters, there might be some sequential growth, maybe as the holiday season is starting. But I think year over year, it's going to be a nice drop. And unfortunately, it's going to create more headwinds for the company like Intel. Now, if we take a closer look at this research from John Petty Research, they kind of talk a little bit more about the discrete graphics cards. And here they call it as AIB, so add-in board products, and these are again usually discrete graphics cards. So this is taking a closer look at quarter 1 of 2021, quarter 4 of 2021, and quarter 1 of 2022. And we can see Nvidia is definitely the leader when it comes to discrete market share, with roughly 75% of total market in quarter 1 of 2022. So very similar to Intel, if there is a slowdown in PC shipments like we're seeing, a huge loser from this is going to be Nvidia because they are a big player. Another thing I do want to mention that's bullish for AMD is AMD has actually gained market share. In quarter 1 of 2021, they had roughly 20% of the market. Now in quarter 1 of 2022, they have roughly 24% of the market. So again, while I do believe it's gonna impact AMD as well, I do believe the biggest loser is going to be Nvidia at the moment. And we can see in their most recent quarter earnings that the Nvidia just reported, they mentioned a huge slowdown in gaming. Obviously, there is the impact of cryptocurrency and crypto mining right now that is also dragging this down. But obviously the consumer market is also being a driving force for this to decline at a fast rate. And Nvidia in their most recent earnings did mention that they expect quarter 3 to be another slowdown. They expect sequential slowdown in the gaming market, which will mean a huge year-over-year decline for the space. I mean, if we take a closer look at AMD's most recent financial result, this is one that continues to see growth all around the market. Obviously, they did have a recent acquisition, which is helping boost some of that revenue, but still they were able to see things in gaming revenue, data center revenue, client revenue, and they mentioned, for example, their Ryzen mobile processor sales were pretty impressive. I do want to say all 3 companies within the upcoming quarters or before the end of this year are going to be releasing some products, so those products might help boost the sales or might help it not crash as much as many might expect. But I do believe it is going to be a tough market for the consumer market, especially for Nvidia and Intel. At the end of the day, I still am a long-term investor of Nvidia and have no intentions of selling. For me, my portfolios are stocks I'm willing to hold for the next 5 to 10 years. And again, Nvidia, with the overall kind of tailwinds in the market right now from artificial intelligence, machine learning, autonomous driving, the list can go on and on and on from here. I do believe Nvidia and AMD are going to be long-term winners, where they might be short-term losers right now in the next month, maybe in the next year. So I hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. Take care, have a good day, and see you next time.